As I examine this monetary emergency, I can't resist thinking about how it is altogether different from the one that shook the world back in 2008. This time around, we're seeing the effect more acutely in the medium and small-sized banks. Unlike the entire U.S. monetary framework, it's quite clear that the issues we're seeing in these banks could jeopardize the soundness of the American financial system. The large fundamental American banks such as J.P. Morgan, Citi, Bank of America, and others are emerging as the winners in this crisis. Whether this outcome is a calculated move or merely a response to changing monetary circumstances remains to be seen. However, it's worth noting that Basel III and the Federal Reserve's snare towards American business banks have had a considerable impact on the current situation. Basel III is a framework change that banks worldwide agreed upon after the 2008 emergency. It introduced measures to safeguard against possible future risks, such as requiring banks to cover liquidity, maintain emergency reserves at the Fed, and limit the amount of credit allowed to clients. However, the U.S. has only extended these commitments to the largest foundational banks. Consequently, it's the medium and small-sized banks excluded from Basel III protection that are in crisis. The exception for business banks in America was initially viewed as an admission to extremely strong financial halls in America. However, today, this exclusion has turned into a boomerang that is betraying these banks. The 2023 emergency in America was brought about by U.S. depository bonds that the Fed changed into toxic bonds. The bank runs of clients are essentially setting off the late bank defaults in America. These banks don't have reserve liquidity to handle outflows from their deposits since they are not required to keep cash available for later at the central bank. The heroes of this emergency are not the renowned derivatives that drove Lehman Brothers to default, but rather depository bonds made toxic by the Fed with its crazy financial tightening policies. This is a significant difference between today and 2008. However, the default mechanism that I have just described is a reality that can be found in every financial medium. As we witness the series of defaults, we can't help but wonder if we're going towards a monopolistic system of large banks. The recent events invite us to widen our view and understand that perhaps a course of centralization and monopoly for a larger scale is in progress. Just as with cryptocurrencies, here too, we've seen dirty moves dealt to weaker institutions to trigger defaults. The world of crypto was rocked when Terra Luna and the FTX stage defaults were deliberately set off, causing bank runs. But now, the trend of these design defaults has moved to the financial framework. And the similarities between these crises and the defaults of FTX and Terra Luna are raising eyebrows. The interesting intersection between the arrangements of the Fed and the interests of J.P. Morgan and other American foundational banks is also dubious. These events are a far cry from the conditions of 2008. In which monetary elites were caught off guard and raced to save the entire system. Unlike in 2008, the media and the national bank have played a key role in preparing for this crisis by spreading an atmosphere of doubt, fear, and uncertainty among the masses. Without this preparation, the bank runs that are destroying solid banks would not have been possible. Essentially cutting off the branches they are sitting on, that is, getting rid of the few reliable services they could depend on. And paving the way for the monopoly of foundational banks, which are significantly less friendly towards society. And what if we are approaching the arrival of the CBDC? In light of these events, it is difficult not to feel that this monopoly could lead to the emergence of the Federal Reserve's digital dollar, CBDC, in the future. The centralization and simplification of the system. The elimination of services closer to society but uneconomic from a government centralization perspective, are undoubtedly the circumstances that someone who wants to lay out a CBDC would want to fulfill in advance. However, the implementation of a CBDC is a highly complex process that includes technical, political, social, economic, legal, international, military, and other aspects. CBDC tests conducted by Chinese and other government entities in various countries have so far highlighted more issues than solutions, especially in the integration of CBDCs from different countries into a global trade system. Moreover, the prospect of a universal CBDC common to all countries in the world is completely unrealistic, especially since we have reached the end of globalization. Nonetheless, it is clear that there is a trend towards monetary centralization and hyper-digitization, in individual countries, not universally. That could lead to outcomes that are difficult to predict. The CBDC is a very complex system and should not be confused with digitalization projects announced by certain countries and the ECB. These projects are a preparation for CBDCs. But their implementation could reveal problems that would ultimately slow down rather than accelerate the arrival of the CBDC. In conclusion, the financial system is evolving rapidly, and it is crucial to stay informed and adapt accordingly. Financial freedom is available to those who learn about it and work for it. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you take these lessons to heart and apply them in your life.